Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 919. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
919 is I don't know what that is. So that's the number, obviously.
Well, 19
It's not
was
the number of the beast.
Yeah.
19 was apparently the average age of the American soldier in the Vietnam War.
In a song.
God, that is a reference and a half, my friend.
It's a very big reference. It's a song from 1985, kids, that we remember and you don't, because you probably weren't born when it came out.
Paul
And you
Hardcastle.
missed nothing.
Yeah, Paul Hardcastle.
Missed nothing.
Yeah, I like that song. It was back when Vietnam had a bit of a renaissance in the mid '80s. Basically.
Well, that's because all the boomers got old and got nostalgic about it for some reason.
Yeah.
And
they
then
were
rewrote
in
it so they
charge.
won.
Yeah,
Well, that too. Yeah,
they're in
And guess
charge.
who's still in charge? The boomers.
They still are.
Yeah.
This is
But we don't have platoons and
Full Metal Jackets,
Full Metal Jackets
Hamburger
and-
Hills, and all those Vietnam War movies.
China Beach.
This is a little
China
later, but yeah.
Beach. Yeah, that was Vietnam, wasn't it? Yeah.
Dana Delaney.
Yeah.
And there's American, not American, there was, of course, it was American. It was a TV show of a platoon, and I can't remember what the hell it was called. But there was like a Vietnam TV show.
Tour of Duty, I think it was called. And
That's what it was,
they
Tour of
had
Duty, right.
Paint It Black as the theme song, and I liked that song. I didn't know what it was.
And as
at
I
the
recall,
time.
it wasn't actually that bad a show, but that's my 14-year-old brain.
Yeah.
Remembering this. So.
Yeah, back when TV was sort of trying to become a little more prestige back in the day, and it was still on like the main three networks too. Oh, the good old days of TV. Remember TV, kids? Remember those days?
Good old days of Vietnam.
Yeah, when we made TV shows and people watched them and everything, and then they didn't they did get axed off of service for a tax write-off those days. Oh boy, heady days.
No, they just got axed and you didn't know it because there was no media to tell you about it. Like there wasn't a dedicated social media presence.
Yeah, you had to wait 3 weeks for the TV guide to tell you.
Yeah, or read it in a Hollywood Reporter if you lived in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Or Variety, I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, both of them on paper.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying the various strikes that are going on. Hopefully other people on strike, like the actors and the writers.
There's nothing I enjoy more than a labor action.
I know. Well, they keep posting photos and stuff like that. They look like they're having fun. Maybe they're having fun on the picket line. They like reunited the cast like Parks and Rec the other day. Apparently they're having fun. They're having fun out there. Everything's fun.
I in no way wish them ill, but
No.
some of those signs are getting to be a bit much, frankly.
Yeah.
Like I want the strike to end so we don't have to see any more sign pictures.
I know. Don't
So
waste
you're
your
saying
best
the writers
efforts.
are running out of ideas?
Could be. But what we need is some executives of fresh, bold, new ideas.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Great,
know.
no.
They just asked ChatGPT.
If only they asked AI, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then that would solve all our problems.
There-
Oh God, I feel so dirty.
There was
Given we have literally have friends on the picket line.
Yes. We're joking.
We very
don't you,
much do
friends on picket
support
line?
the strike action.
We
yes.
do. There was a I only saw this in one source, and it was very clearly an AI written massive epic tome of a piece on robots.net, just to give you an indicator of the source here, about Doctor Who leaving HBO Max. And I remember like reading through this and going, this is clearly AI. There's like it. I think unfortunately or something. There's a word, I can't remember what word it was. Starts off like every second paragraph with that same word. It was like basically write 4,000 words about Doctor Who leaving HBO, and it never once.
But it's the future.
It never once mentioned Disney Plus, which is where it's probably going to go to, and never once mentioned that. I mean, it's. Are
you scared of the future? Are you scared of NFTs? Why don't you have a Bored Ape? What's wrong with you?
I know.
How can you miss out on this,
I
Stephen?
know.
Come on.
It's terrible.
You're leaving money on the table.
I really am.
Take it right back again after everything fails.
Yep.
Can't you just follow Justin Bieber's lead? Justin Bieber, who bought an NFT, now it's almost worthless.
Oh, did he? Oh.
Good.
One of the monkey things.
Bored Ape things.
Yeah, one of them.
Remember Bored Apes, kids? Remember those days when they were Bored Apes and everyone was going, wow,
what's his name?
Bored Apes.
Tonight Show guy and Paris Hilton were showing
Jimmy
their
Fallon.
Bored Apes to each other.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't remember his name because I don't like him. And you're like, oh, this is over. When these two idiots are showing their pictures on TV, you know it's over.
And they were both basically paid to talk about them on TV.
Of course they were.
And so I think they were a breach of contract or something. Anyway, TV's terrible, which is why I watched The French Connection and The Last Waltz last week, because William Friedkin and Robbie Robertson died within a day of each other. So I made a night of watching old stuff from the 1970s because...
I like how not 10 minutes ago it was in TV great.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
in TV from the old days great, kids.
Yeah, it's bad.
Which it wasn't, by the way.
Yeah.
No.
No, we just cherry pick. We cherry pick all the best stuff, you know. But you know, the funny thing is that The French Connection, which is one of my favorite films, it's superbly made, and you look at it now, it's like, this is like punk rock filmmaking essentially. Like, you know, we didn't get a permit to shoot this car chase in New York, so we just basically went and shot it and everything. And you think, oh wow, this is just a punk rock film. Yeah, guess what the #1 grossing film of 1971 was? The French Connection. Like, these are also the box office hits as well as being like punk rock filmmaking. This is kind of why I like the new Hollywood era. I bored Warren with this for many a year, but
That's all right. I also enjoy the new Hollywood era. I just like other stuff too.
yeah,
so.
I know you do.
I have similar thoughts when I think about things like To Live and Die in L.A. as well.
Oh yeah, he did that too. I never saw that one.
Yeah, it is
Yeah, it's freaking. Yeah, it's freaking. Yeah. Did The Exorcist too. Very scary movie. To this day, I've seen it twice. I don't know if I can watch it again. It legitimately terrifies me.
It is excellent, and also I'm going to go to bat again for The Exorcist 3, which is phenomenal as well.
Oh,
Peter Blatty wrote and directed it.
I never watched it, but I saw a review of it and about how basically they kind of just slapped the Exorcist name on it, even though it really isn't have anything to do with the Exorcist.
What happened was he wrote this novel called Legion, and then they said, if you want to make this into a movie, you got to make it an Exorcist movie. So he did, but it's William Peter Blatty who wrote the original novel, The Exorcist, in the first place. So he wrote, directed it, and it's George C. Scott is great in it. Like, everybody is great in it. It's a much more literary film than most films, even at the time. I remember watching it in the theater going, this dialogue's great. There's some awesome jump scares. Listen, the cult of Exorcist 3 is real, and we all know this movie rules.
Right.
Like, it's not... It's hard to say. It's apples and oranges if it's as good as the other one. No, probably not as good as The Exorcist, but still great.
Right.
And Exorcist 2, forget it. The new one that's come out now, which is just basically Saw or some crap with Exorcist slapped on it. Although for some reason, what's her name from the first movie is Ellen Bernstein is in it, and she wasn't young in the 70s, so I don't know how old she is in this. Not that matters, but they really just trotted out somebody from the first movie just to have somebody in the first movie. From what I can tell,
and she's got a bad back because of William Friedkin, because she basically rigged her up to a jerk harness and yanked it harder than it was going to be. That he told her to get a genuine reaction out of her, and now she has a bad back for life.
All our praise of William Friedkin, he was apparently, by all accounts, a monstrous individual.
A little bit.
Now, I don't know if William Peter Blatty was, but I want people to go on Shudder and watch The Ninth Configuration, which he also wrote and directed. It is insane and awesome.
All right. Duly noted. On this show today, before we go too off topic, which we never do on the show, it's very strange.
Okay.
Part 2 of our Saul Metzstein Miniscope, covering the Snowmen, the Crimson Horror, and the Name of the Doctor. Hope you watched all 3 of those. We'll be covering them in depth at the end of the show. Also want to say that it falls halfway in between in between episodes here, but RFS as of April 15th is, I have to do the math. Are we 17? It's been 17 years, right? 17 years old? August 15th. 2006.
And yes, 17, yeah.
Is the anniversary. I had to do math there for a bit. 17 years we've been doing this damn podcast.
Doing math.
Yeah, I know. 17 years of Radio Free Skaro. Can you believe it? 17 years.
I cannot.
No, I can't either. So there will be a 20th anniversary. We're not going to bother doing big, huge. It might even time out that the 20th is a Sunday too when our episodes come out. I haven't checked yet, but
can we make a special edition of the 20th anniversary one?
We're going to make 2 special editions of the 20th anniversary. We're going to make a special edition. We're going to remaster the first one and place you in, except you're not going to be played by you. We're going to actually do an AI CG double of Richard Herndl playing you because you weren't in that first one. But
Chris's first words had to be McClunky.
And can we artificially split it into 4 parts?
Oh, and they make an omnibus edition?
Yes.
To re-put it together?
At random, yes, we will totally do that. We'll totally. August 5th,
Also 2 45-minute episodes that don't really join together either.
Yeah, August 15th, 2026 is a Saturday. I literally just checked, so there we go.
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah. Close enough. Probably more. We probably chopped it out at like probably 10:59 p.m. on that August 15th anyway, So yeah, there you go, kids. Stay tuned for our big 20th anniversary special in 3 years' time. Stay tuned.
Yes.
Big.
Yes.
I'm sure they're on the edge of their seats.
Massive.
Don't listen to anything else until then either, I guess, right?
Nothing. It's all going to be wasted. Imagine if that like coincided with like episode 1002. No, it won't. We'll hit that.
Oh no, that'll be well
hit that
beyond
next year.
1,000.
Yeah, we'll hit that next year. Yeah.
Yeah.
1,000.
Yeah. And of course, we never know how to calculate what episode numbers are going to be down the line, because we never know how many we're going to put out at a given Gallifrey one, or if we have to do any special episodes, like the last minute one when, say, Barry Letts died, for example.
Right.
Yeah, and I hate to bring this up because I don't want it to happen, but eventually we're going to have to do a special about Tom Baker, and I'm not looking forward to it, but it's going to have to happen. So.
No, it's probably we'll probably sadly outlive some doctors before we get to the end of this podcast. So yeah, that'll be bad. But also, I mean, speculating on my own personal speculation, is that a thing? Not really.
Yes, it is now.
Because I firmly believe that the 14th Doctor era will last precisely 3 days, Thanksgiving weekend, when it debuts on Disney Plus. And I don't want to make the mistake of what we did with Tortured Children of Earth, where we just thought, we'll just review the whole series at the end of the week, thinking it would be terrible, or we'd just be bored by it, and then we realized that, oh my God, every single hour of Tortured Children of Earth is amazing, and when we tried to cover it off in 1 week, we'll probably do individual episodes for each episode.
Probably, yeah.
So there's 3 right there. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, we could do all 3 in a single day.
No, that would be ridiculous, because then we know what happens,
Okay, just everyone take the week off work, and we'll watch the first one, record about it the next morning.
No.
Watch the second one that night, record about it the next morning.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be crazy. Listen, when you get to be 919 episodes in, you don't get that by taking weeks off, let me tell you.
Look, I can see how this would work out. There's a whole form I have to fill in at work online to do request vacation time, and you have to put, like, you don't have to, but you can put a little reason at the bottom, and I'm like, I can just see the rejected with just come on now as a response.
Well, I mean, it's American Thanksgiving, so I don't know if that ties into anything you'd have to do.
Nope. No, it just means it's harder to get a hold of people. That's all it means. Yeah,
exactly. Who's gonna? I mean, it's a Thursday. No, I don't know what time they're gonna drop, if it's gonna be on that. But the Thanksgiving Thursday is November 23rd, the actual 60th anniversary, and I feel like that's just a perfect way to launch a new thing on Disney Plus, especially since all the other shows are getting delayed because of the strikes. So, like, hey, at least we got the sure bet in Doctor Who. We could drop that there. As long as it beats Secret Invasion, we'll be all right, right?
That's a pretty low bar to clear, from what I can tell.
A little bit.
I haven't seen Secret Invasion. I've chosen to not watch it.
Wow.
But saw some random article through a Google alert the other day comparing. Not comparing so much as saying how Doctor Who did it better with the Zygon Peter Capaldi story, or episodes. So I guess there's a similarity. I don't know.
I've seen 2 episodes, and I just haven't gotten. It wasn't even bad or anything. I just haven't gotten around to watching it again. I've lost all enthusiasm. So sorry, Marvel.
We only have time to do Doctor Who, and that means 3 episodes and 3 nights. That's our watching for this year, right? And then Christmas, obviously, but
yes,
yeah.
Especially since you've declared Star Trek dead to you, so
it's dead.
I guess we're not talking about Strange New Worlds or anything like that.
Well, there's no more Star Trek to watch anyway, so it's nothing anymore.
Well, Lower Decks, your favorite, is coming back, so
but
for about 4 weeks away from Lower Decks.
Discovery eventually is coming back. I don't know when.
Next year for Discovery.
Yeah, next year for Discovery. I didn't know that Lower Decks is coming back so soon. I had no idea.
September 7th, I believe.
There's a new video game called Starfield coming out the day before that, and I'll be playing that.
So forget TV or anything else. I'll be work. You're on shaky ground, buddy. Starfield's coming out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Starfield. A good space game. Space.
Well, and from the makers of Skyrim and Fallout. That's a pretty good... I mean, it could fall flat in its face. Who knows?
Yep.
But, I don't think so. It's
Action role-playing game developed by Bethesda.
That's the one.
Yep.
That's one that I'll be playing. Yep.
Formerly
Baldur's
announced
Gate 3 came out for the PC, and it's not out for the PlayStation 5 till next month, so all my jerk PC friends are like, neener. I'm like, damn, they got me.
Appears to be a Xbox exclusive, but
Yes,
not
it
for
is.
the Xbox One.
And PC, I think. I'm pretty
And
sure.
PC, sorry.
as
Well,
Yeah.
Windows. Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't Bethesda owned by Microsoft?
It sure is.
Yeah, what's the one they're trying to buy Activision?
I think
Or
they're
I
trying to
can't
buy
remember
Activision.
who owns what.
Yeah. I know the EU kind of threw up a roadblock, but that got passed. No,
It's as
Bethesda's,
confusing as Canadian television.
apparently Bethesda is not owned by Microsoft.
I thought they were.
Okay.
I thought they bought them.
Oh, no, yeah. ZeniMax Media acquired by... yeah, okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I had to... There's like
had
so
to
many name changes in corporate buyouts.
You
or
had to
whatever.
refresh the tab that you've had open since 2015. Bethesda possibly being bought by Xbox. Hit refresh. Oh, it happened, I guess. Okay. All right.
I don't follow the video game stuff anywhere near like I used to, but even that I was pretty sure was correct that Microsoft bought them.
Right.
Anyway, this game looks cool. Is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, and it's in space and stuff. And there might be, I don't know, there might be romance options and stuff like that, like there are Mass Effect, and that's always fun. So I'm looking forward to that game. Better be good. I was thinking about pre-ordering it, but what do you get when you pre-order it? You get nothing.
Well, no, it's on Game Pass anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like,
That's
if,
true.
If you got Game Pass, then it just comes for quote unquote free.
That's true. I did pre-install like the 917
So did I.
kilobytes worth
Yeah.
of information on it. So.
Well, all that 900 kilobytes does is says, gotta wait. I'm like, yeah, I know.
You
Shut up.
gotta
Stop
wait
telling me
till
that.
it's downloaded. So, yeah. Hey, speaking of video game, no, I'm just trying to make a segue into animated stuff. Doctor Who animated Missing Adventures are back. Just boom. Just back on a Friday morning.
They're dead forever, though.
Yeah, they remember when BBC America basically pulled out of making them because they were pulling out of Doctor Who. Let's face it. We all wondered about the future of the animated recons. Well, worry no longer. Yes, Chris, go on.
Big Finish also kicked in some money here and there for those too. So
they did for some of them, but I don't know who is behind this. But the Underwater Menace is coming to a DVD and Blu-ray this November. Everything's happening in November. It's the 60th anniversary, but everything just happens in November. It's like that one New Year's Eve in San Diego where all the fireworks went off at once instead of throughout the whole course of the show. And that's that's what's going to happen this year for the 60th. Anyway, Underwater Menace on DVD and Blu-ray. They've jumped right to that one because at least 2 episodes exist. With a whole host of extras and everything else, but.
I'm conflicted about this being their initial choice.
Okay, well, how come?
Well, I mean, because number one, I mean, we've got the DVD release already.
Yeah.
But the other side of that equation is the extremely terrible recons we got for the 2 missing episodes.
I think those will be fixed in this one by the looks of it.
The recons are thankfully still on there for the purists, but
Yeah.
it's. I'm glad we're getting something better than the super low effort shoddy thing we got back with the DVD release, but whatever year it came out.
Yeah, the purposely low effort. Like they were forbidden to do anything other than sequential telesnaps. So weird.
And also, how has it been 12 years since that Underwater Menace episode was discovered?
It's been found, I don't know, 2011. Amazing, isn't it? Terry Burnett finally had that in his back pocket there. Yep. Obviously, he didn't have parts 1 and 4 because he died, and his collection was handed over to someone else. So, but
I doubt they've gotten through the entire collection yet. Anyway. Yeah. So, are we going to buy it? Of course, we are.
Animated?
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
In fact, I'll watch it in color at least once. So
yeah, the way Underwater Menace, I guess it's a. It's weird because for years that has just been panned in received fan wisdom,
and rightly so.
Not a good story.
It is not good. I'm sorry,
but as I said, it's perhaps more visually interesting than the Highlanders, which is just sitting there. That and the Smugglers are just sitting there, because they're sort of been going like they did 10th Planet, obviously, and I think they've done most of season 4 now that I think about it. Actually, all of season 4 up until then. So maybe they're just working backwards. Now, the Underwater Menace will be there, and then the Smugglers will be the last one. Unless, of course, episodes of those are sitting in someone's vault right now. But so that's why they're doing that one now. But I mean, the rundown is animated color on black and white in one disc, and then on the second disc is they just say reconstruction. I'm hoping it's the actual like a proper new telesnap reconstruction, not just the one that Chris mentioned that came out on the original DVD. But
alas, it doesn't actually say anywhere, so I'm honestly expecting it's going to be the same one reused.
I don't know. I
hope not.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if the restoration team would make that. I mean, I think it was a Dan Hall thing more than anything back in those days, and he's long since left the
Dan
scene.
Hall thing as far as like the keep it simple mandate.
The order to keep it simple, exactly. So I don't know what the thinking was behind that, but that ain't the case no more. I mean, there's even a couple things here that I don't think I remember from the original DVD release, like the BBC News report. I can't remember if that's on there or not. Or the Man from Minutes. I don't remember that, but.
Fraser Hines' introduction for episode 2 as per the original VHS release. So maybe the other stuff isn't as per the original VHS or DVD release. I don't know. That could be wishful thinking on my part.
I don't know either, actually. I don't know either. I'm just now I'm looking through my list of stuff here, and I see a fishy tale. But The Man from Minutes, whatever that is, a documentary, looks to be new. So that wasn't on the original DVD release. So it's not just a straight port of stuff that came out before. So there's going to be other stuff on there. What I'm curious about is who actually animated this. I point blank asked Rob Ritchie and says, so this means you're considered employable now again. And he said, no, they just reused some of my TARDIS stuff. And so he didn't work on this. And I don't know if Gary Russell, who did Abominable Snowman and Fury from the Deep, I don't know if he worked on this because I didn't see him I saw him like posts on Facebook and stuff. Mark Ayers worked on this. He worked on this because he's like the only person who can do Doctor Who audio apparently, but he does it very well, so that's why they keep calling it back.
Yeah,
so
like, why would you not get the best?
Yeah. So I don't know if this is like a Charles Norton, who also has been the producer for a lot of these more recent things. Like I don't see him his name anywhere mentioned on this either, so I don't know who's actually responsible. It sounds like they've perpetrated a crime here. I don't know who's sort of been responsible for doing these again, or where they got the funding, or like where all this stuff sort of came from. I'd like to know the backstory of why suddenly, after like 2 years of them not doing these and the money all drying up, and suddenly here we go, we got one again. So
you're missing the most important question then, Stephen.
All right, what is that?
When do we get the Space Pirates?
Let me tell you, you animate the Space Pirates and season 6 is done. You're done.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you say, season 4 is almost done. Season 5 is not far from.
No, because Fury's done, Abominable's done. They're all done. Wheel in Space. Wheel in Space is not yet done. Yeah. Although they have made still to this day, only the proper BBC official recon is only available on BritBox, which is weird. Yeah. But at least they're set up for when they animate the thing, presumably, which they will do now. So that's quite something. We're only 3 stories away. I think my math is right. That being the Highlanders, the Wheel in Space, and the Space Pirates. 3 Patrick Troughton stories away from having the entire run complete as we're gonna get, basically. Between existing and animated episodes. Wow, that's something.
Yeah. I mean, it also doesn't hurt that season 6 was mostly complete to begin with.
Yeah, because they hadn't gotten around to burning it yet.
A little bit of invasion and Space Pirates, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. So there. So maybe that portents well for a Troughton Blu-ray release maybe coming up.
Yeah,
I had one of those.
I forgot I owned Abominable Snowman, but I do. So
it doesn't have Abominable Snowman doesn't have production notes on it, and that's why I didn't watch it, and then I forgot about it. So I haven't watched Abominable Snowman yet, and they don't mention production notes on this, and I hope that's just an oversight because I love DVD production notes because it's one of my favorite things.
With having only those 3 Troughton stories remaining.
Yep.
Basically one per season, yeah. That means whenever they get done, we might end up with like this massive, long, potentially anyway, schedule of season 3 releases because there's a lot we don't have from there.
Season 3 is going to be a tough one.
And when are we going to see Master Plan? I guess is the big question for season 3.
I know that is going to. I wonder. I mean, they have Galaxy 4, and that's done. But I mean, that's literally the first story from.
Yeah. And the Ark and the Gunfighters War Machines all exist, but we still have Savages and
so many
Toymaker,
so many
and
episodes.
Master Plan.
Yeah.
When Master Plan is animated, will Ian Levine ascend to his highest form? Will he become a being of pure light?
I know.
I did see on Facebook that he's happy about the release of Underwater Menace. And then for some reason, he was showing off stills of, or at least one still of his efforts for the massacre.
Oh, really? Wow.
I think it was animation.
Nerds,
Black...
man. Yeah. Nerds.
Wow.
So I guess he's still apparently working on animated stuff, despite negative reactions to some of his prior
and lawyers,
efforts / commissions.
Yeah. Don't know. Intriguing stuff though. It's very good to see more stuff on. I mean, this will be the second edition of Underwater Menace I'll have bought, and try to tell yourself that one day from way back when. Thinking, one day you're going to buy two different discs of the Underwater Menace.
You'll have to buy the VHS version, and where it only has the one episode.
Well, that was on the Lost Year, so technically I have that too. So
have you got that?
I've got literally every single physical media release of the Underwater Menace. Yeah.
Well, he can't stop now.
Of course,
nothing in the world can stop you now.
Nothing. Perfect ending for that. Also happening, it's the 60th anniversary. I don't know if you knew that. For Doctor Who, which is in 3.5 months' time, by the way. We're getting close. We're getting close to the actual 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. There's going to be BBC Radio 2 announced a whole slate of stuff that they're going to do in the autumn for concerts and everything like this. And Doctor Who at 60, a musical celebration, is a concert that's coming up in the autumn. It's going to be recorded, and I'm going to read straight from the press release. In this celebration concert from BBC Hoddenot Hall in Wales Millennium Centre, Cardiff, the BBC National Orchestra of Wales and the BBC Singers, conducted by Alistair King, explore this music with works by Murray Gold, Segun Akinola, Dudley Simpson, Paddy Kingsland, and of course Ron Grainer's original theme, as imagined by the BBC Radiophonic Workshops in Delia, Derbyshire. Guests include Doctor Who showrunner Russell the Davies and composer Murray Gold, who has recently returned to the show. More news will be announced at a later date. So that's exciting and fun. We haven't had a proper concert since like...
when were the proms done?
I don't remember when I know that they did a concert on the broadcast of World Enough and Time.
That late?
It was that late.
That's a ways back. Anyway,
it was that late. I had heard that they had some marketing budget to go through. They had a surplus still, and they had to spend it, so they put on a show.
Sounds about right.
I know I was in the UK at the time, and I didn't go to that because I wasn't in Wales, but. Yeah, I remember Steve Moffat and Pearl Mackie were at the event, and they had a quick little thing there. And I don't know if I've ever even seen a recording of that, but apparently it happened. So this will probably be the first one since then, which is like quite a few years since that. So very cool, very cool. I remember the proms concerts. I remember the 50th anniversary concert was really cool. Yeah, so be interesting to see what this is all about. Paddy Kingsland. I bet you there's probably gonna be like the Tom Baker Regeneration score or something from Paddy Kingsland.
Oh, probably, yeah.
It'll be that, and they're not going to be like, here's the suite from Frontios finally on the big screen for the 60th anniversary
or
something.
Which you've all been begging for.
Yeah, so Tractators trundle on stage. They get happy 60th, kids. It's the Tractators.
Can you imagine everybody, even people our age, is like, the hell is this?
Right.
Who are these things? What is going on here?
That would be a pretty Gravis situation.
Oh, that's terrible. You should be ashamed of yourself. Also, when you look at how the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle puppets look 30 years on, God only knows how horrific the Tractators, which looked horrific when complete and new. Can you imagine how nightmare-inducing they are now?
Probably falling. There's probably one in the Doctor Who Experience vault or something.
It's probably alive. It's probably shambling around at night.
It's become sentient.
Yeah. Like a crawled up woodlice, which was what Christopher Bidmead wanted in the first place. But
obviously, he's not part of the BBC National Orchestra of Wales, alas. Right. But they should get Jess Jerkovic to do the Dudley Simpson pieces.
That would be so cool, Jess Jerkovic. if you're
Lobby for it now, Jess.
Yeah,
Listen,
we'll get your phone
I
number.
want a Sagan Akinola walk on. That's what I want.
Walk-a-nola.
A Walkanola.
Walkanola.
Sorry.
forever.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I transpose words, but I wanted Sagan Akinola walk on, where he does a lot of synthesizer stuff. So he just has a guitar and he just comes in and does his theme, and then comes right back out again.
They're pretty cool, actually.
Or just pre-recorded on his phone and just puts it up to like a lavalier mic or something.
Yeah. There it is. There's my stuff. Anyway. It'll be fun. I imagine there'll be tickets. And Chris has seen something else that's of interest.
I have, because I haven't looked at this press release.
Right.
There's also, just for whatever it's worth, this autumn, James King will present Danny Elfman's music from the films of Tim Burton to be recorded at the Royal Albert Hall in October.
Oh.
That's not so bad. Those are pretty good tunes.
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas, Edward Scissorhands, Alice in Wonderland, Beetlejuice, Batman, Dark Shadows, and many more.
Oh, wow.
Okay, you can yank Dark Shadows and Alice in Wonderland. The rest of that stuff's cool.
I just want to hear Batman.
Special guest performances by Danny Elfman and violinist Sandy Cameron.
Alice in Wonderland made an insane amount of money.
Did it
I've
really?
never seen it, and I never will.
No,
I watched it for Matt Lucas, I think, but I watched it.
I don't.
It's just it's the turn where Tim Burton goes, well, I'm super successful now. Rather than make stuff that's actually worth a damn, I'm just going to make more commercial garbage. I'm like, well, that's a weird heel turn there, Tim Burton, but okay.
Obviously, it's not a movie, and I don't know if you even watched it, but where do you slot Wednesday in with all that?
Don't care. Never seen it. Don't care.
It's a good show.
The kids seem to dig it. I'm glad they dig it. I don't care.
I found it
could be
quite
good for all I
enjoyable.
know, but I don't have Netflix, so I'm never going to watch it.
All right. Well, there we go. That petered out. Nicely done.
Yeah, it did.
Could have ended on a grave situation because Chris just has the kicker for every single story. But so far,
The jangly key has got him as per usual.
Yeah, I suppose. Remember that cool deluxe illustrated edition of Doctor Who and an Exciting Adventure of the Daleks that came out earlier this year, I think it was. Well, they're doing a second one, and it's Rose. It's Rose. It's a novelization of Rose, except punched up with pictures, so it's actually digestible. Unlike all those books that just have words in them, this has pictures in them, so therefore it's fun to read. And they're doing it with Rose is coming out. So
fun enough, you might even tackle it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's probably also coming out. It's coming out, set to publish 23rd November 2023. Like I said, San Diego fireworks, everything on one day. Everything.
Save your money, people. Save your money for November. You're going to need it.
Oh, my God. There's so much coming in November, and only November.
By the way, you remember 2013 when everybody, by everybody I mean a small vocal part of fandom, was complaining about, I'm doing more celebrating the 60th or the 50th than anybody in BBC is, and then all of a sudden for like about a month it was an onslaught.
Yeah.
So people have very short memories and forget that come October you're going to be sick of hearing about Doctor Who. Frankly,
yeah, I know. I'm quite honestly, I'm somewhat impressed that they're actually making a big thing of the 60th because it's 60. It's a year, sure.
It's like the 40th.
Like the 40, yeah. Doctor Who is like the big thing for the 40th was, guess what? Doctor Who's coming back. But and they put out like a DVD release of one per each Doctor at least throughout the course of that year. And 30
There's
was
also all the BBC Two stuff for the 40th.
That's true too. But 50 was huge, obviously, because 50 is 50. But 60 is like, okay, what do we do for 60? I guess they keep doing stuff. So.
Nothing's bigger than 30 with Dimensions in Time.
That one's, honestly, I think they should do
It's a hard bar to beat.
They need to do a 30th anniversary of the 30th anniversary and do a Dimensions of Time, I think.
No, they don't. But the thing about the 50th is that the show was doing extraordinarily well, too. Like, in a way, it never, I guess maybe on the 10th anniversary, it sort of was.
10 and 20.
Sure, it wasn't doing all that great in the 20th anniversary.
Oh, no,
right?
20th is where it turned, I think. The BBC was basically, okay, we're going to hang on, and now we're going to look at canceling this crap. Now that you've had your 20, you've had your party.
History sort of repeated itself because it did go, I'm not saying decline in quality because I like both Jodie Whittaker's era and Peter Capaldi's era, but a lot of people stopped watching after that. There was after the 50th, and now we're at the 60th, and it kind of feels like we're in the same situation as the 40th or 30th in a way.
I don't know. The 60th feels like a rebirth, oddly enough.
Yeah, I guess.
Again, like you said, like not from from the era that came after the 50th, because I love Capaldi and Whittaker, but the press coverage, the public interest is huge for a big anniversary event like the 50th, and
50 is by definition one of the biggest.
It is.
Right? I mean,
it is. Yeah. So. So 60 will be interesting, just because for the first time it's like since the 40th. Let's face it, it's like the start of something new, and we're celebrating a 60th anniversary of something that feels brand new all of a sudden. So, but anyway, they're releasing that Rose illustrated version on the 23rd. So, everything's coming out November 23rd. That's gonna be great.
Everything's coming up roses.
There we go. There's the kicker.
Wow.
What are we going to do? I love this. This is good. There's some sad news. Big Chief Studios, we've talked about their works in the past on the show. They made like super high quality and high priced, I suppose, because of that quality, models of like, doctors and everything else. Well, alas, they are no more. Big Chief Studios have announced that they are folding the company. So yeah, that joins like them and like Network DVD, which didn't do Doctor Who stuff, but they did a whole bunch of archive stuff in the UK. That folded recently, and then Doctor Who figurine magazine, which is another thing that was kind of cool. So yeah, it's been a bad year and a half or so for like collectors of stuff.
It's a niche of a niche. Like it's, as a dedicated dollyiest myself, even I wouldn't spend money on these, even though they're great, they're amazing, but they're also God knows how much money. And yeah, it's a very niche product. So I'm not surprised this happened.
Mm-hmm.
It is niche, but it's not like they were limited only to Doctor Who, because they did a lot of other stuff as well.
Oh, true. Yeah. But still, by definition, it's like in Japan, this kind of stuff gets a lot more traction. If you look at any toy catalog, you're going to see a lot of stuff that's super detailed like this, because it just sells better over there, right? So I don't know if they have anything to do with Japan, but it just struck me as sort of the same situation, but better over there. Like you can come up with the most niche product ever, and people will spend money on it. And Brits, maybe not so much.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, I suppose the British economy in itself, let's
blame it on Brexit.
Yeah, Brexit killed Big Chief.
Well, they're blaming the pandemic as much as anything.
Yeah. Which was caused by Brexit. I think we all know this is a fact.
That's true. Yeah. We talked, was it last week before, about that 1,200-pound sonic screwdriver?
Oh yeah, from Nickelback.
Which wasn't them. It was somebody else.
No, it was somebody else.
Yeah.
But like the point being that as nice as Big Chief's stuff was, it would be a very expensive hobby.
Yeah.
To collect their things. And I realize, quality costs money, and it should, but I gotta wonder how much that affected what people would actually buy versus what they might want to buy.
Yeah. Well, thanks Big Chief, and for all the fish and all that too.
Yeah, they did good work.
Yeah.
They did good work.
Is there a kicker you want there, Chris, before we move on to the next?
Nah, it's a sad one.
Okay, all right. Coming up, there was that movie that came out about Dealer Derbyshire, from the Myths and Legend, and then Legendary Tapes. That was called. It's a movie that came out in 2020. I haven't seen, but there is a showing of it in the UK on Friday, September 22nd, not November 23rd. So that's there you go.
In Hastings specifically.
In Hastings, where there's a famous battle at one point, and
actually there wasn't.
Is that a historical misnomer? The Battle of Hastings.
The battle was in Battle.
Oh, that's a dumb name.
Which is near Hastings.
I can see why they changed that. I can see
the location. The location of the battle is called Battle.
Yeah, I know,
because I've been there.
Well,
Kat and I went there.
That's confusing.
Yeah,
Kat and I went there with Andrew Smith and walked around what was the battlefield.
Wow. Are they still there? Are there still people there fighting, or is it over now?
Yes. It's just youths beating each other up.
Right.
Yeah, they're all ghosts now, but
okay. Well,
yelling about social workers.
Yeah.
But no, the battle is near Hastings.
Gotcha.
Hastings is separate. Yeah.
Well, they should just call it the battle near. Anyway, Hastings is where this film festival is, and you can watch that Dealer Derbyshire movie. That's sort of like partially dramatic. It seemed weird to me and stuff, and I have never seen it. Dealer Derbyshire and the Myths and then Legendary Tapes. My
favorite bit of the blurb for the movie is, this film is F-rated.
F-rated.
The F rating is applied to all films which are directed by women and or written by women.
That's kind of cool. I like that, actually. That's kind of a neat thing. I don't know much more. That's the first I've heard of it. I wonder if this is a thing that's been going on. But don't dive. There's a link in the show notes, and there's a link in that link to find out more. But don't go down the rabbit hole, Chris. Not right now. We have a whole Miniscope to get through. So, but F rating, it's a new thing that I've heard about, and I like that. Especially given that so few films are made by women, which is unfortunate. Especially given that one of the most successful one of all time is directed by a woman called Greta Gerwig. It's called Barbie. It's in theaters now.
And it's good. My instant review.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fact where, this podcast is about a show that has a lot of positive influences and work by women, especially when it was not a common thing.
No, so few of them, but in very powerful positions. Let's put it that way. Like, Dealer Derbyshire, Verity Lambert, Lorraine Hennessy, Julie Gardner.
Even like, Fiona Cumming. And,
directors and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Patty Russell. Yeah. But not enough over the years. But the ones who have made an impact made a great impact, and Dealey Derbyshire perhaps one of the most significant of those. And so there's a movie about it, and you can go see it in Hastings, which is not the location of the famous battle from 1066.
Just like the Brits to overcomplicate something. What a shock!
As referenced in The Time Meddler, which is probably where most of you know
and
it.
Nowhere
else from that. No history, and then you only know it from
where
Dr.
I first learned about it. I'll say that much.
Probably me too, shamefully.
Yep. Here's an interesting thing. In Newcastle on November 18th, there is a screening of The Brain of Morbius. Yeah. Like, it's not a tie-in to anything. It's up in Newcastle, so it's unofficial because Newcastle is nowhere. If they never do anything official in Newcastle. Yeah, come at me, Newcastle.
They have apparently this cinema has TV on the big screen Doctor Who nights.
Interesting. Sounds a little dodgy if I'm honest, but it's on Saturday, November 18th of November, so no one's going to notice it because, of course, everything is happening around that same week. But yeah, Brain of Morbius on the big screen, watching it. So
you can only get in if you say the secret password, which is Condolecto.
And obviously it'll be the DVD because season 13
the secret word is palsied Harridan.
Palsied.
That's a pretty good one. It is kind of cool to see the Sisterhood of Karn because then they became, I don't know, famous is the right word, but expanded upon with Night of the Doctor and Hellbent. Yeah.
I think you'll find, Warren, that as per the description for this movie, it's the Sisterhood of Kara.
Oh, well, they got it wrong.
Autocorrect, kicked in there.
Sorry there, Ticket Source, but yeah. Anyway,
that's a rival sisterhood. There's like a gang. There's a West Side Story gang war in the middle of it.
The Sharks and the Jets are the Karns and the Karas.
Kara, exactly.
The Karas are actually, and then the Karens come in, so that gets really dicey.
With the haircut and all. Yeah.
Karens,
definitely
going on planes about people in the back row who claim are real. Yeah, the brain
and
was
then behind the Kara is the Mara.
Yeah, there we are, Kara Mara
pulling the strings
on the androids of Tara. The Brain of Morbius, November 18th, up in Newcastle. If you're in Newcastle, obviously people in London won't go that far north, so because it's
a bit of a hike.
It's a bit of a hike, apparently. Listen, in 2 weeks' time, kids, I'm going to be playing a show at a festival in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. That is 13 hours drive north, and then back south a bit on a little bit. So
how many kilometers? 13 hours.
13 hours. That's exactly the distance of it. We measure distance and time here in Western Canada, and so that is as far north as I've ever been. Obviously, no way, Iceland is probably not in Canada anyway. And so people complain about like taking the train to Derby or something like that. Well, it's nothing. So you can go to Newcastle and see Brain of Morbius the weekend before the anniversary of Doctor Who. So get up there, you idiots. I don't know why I'm complaining about people, but
wow, it's a little hostile for no reason.
So from the northern tip of Scotland to the southern coast of England, it is about 1,000 kilometers.
How many is that in hours? Come on, give me a.
Well, your Edmonton to Fort Smith is 1,300 kilometers according to Google Maps.
All right.
So
you could drive
your trip. Your trip is going to be 30% further than Britain, north to south.
Right. And think about this. My destination is on the border of Alberta and Northwest Territories, and that's the 60th parallel. There are 30 more degrees of latitude to go until you get the top of Canada, folks. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Our country is massive. Our country is absolutely giant. Huge. Massive. There's only 40 million people living here. It's crazy.
Yep, it's empty.
Yeah, I mean,
there's an echo wherever you go.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it gets cold in parts of it, so that's probably why they don't live there much. But anyway, it's the Radio Times had a neat thing about the look back at the photo shoot for the 10th anniversary issue, where they had a whole bunch of classic companions in new and, let's face it, bizarre photo shoots.
Because some of them make sense, some don't.
Because it's 1973, so. Anyway, they had a big thing where they sort of like said, here's the story behind all this. Some of this is, I don't remember this. When was this? But they've a lot of these photos I've never seen the Peter Purvis one where he's standing.
No, it's creepy
with all these dolls.
Yeah, underneath an overpass with a bunch of creepy dolls and stuff. I don't think I've seen those ones before, but
the Carol Ann Ford one is bizarre. She's in caveman fur. I guess that's the Unearthly Child, I suppose.
It is, yeah. Some sort of like tie-in to that, and sort of like Raquel Welch-ish kind of, doing it up that way because 100,000 BC, I guess that was
1973.
And 1973, obviously.
The Cybermen one with Annika Wills and Michael Craze looks really cool. But the one that's the best, and verges on pornography, but not for the reasons you think, is Wendy Padbury festooned with computer tissue. She's in this room full of reel-to-reels, and she's got all these reels, and it's a god-awful mess, and I feel sorry for the technician who had to fix this. But I was like, oh, look at all these computers from 1973.
I know. Wendy Padbury in bizarre photo shoots are just a thing. She's here with a handful of tapes. She's like, her press release was like running outside a burning building for some odd reason, and Peter Bryant massaging her feet. And it was just strange things with Wendy Padbury. She can put a book together. Here are the strange photo shoots I've been in over the course of my career in Doctor Who, and that was one of them. Very odd.
The ones that catch my eye there's two of them. Number one is the Liz Sladen photo from the Time Warrior.
The Time Warrior, yeah.
I just like the perspective of the shot because it's like down, up steps and kind of thing, and then the other one with Nick Courtney and Carolyn John, because it's still weird to see Nicholas Courtney, even though he appeared on screen in Modern Undead without the mustache.
Yep.
It's still weird to see Nick Courtney without the mustache.
I know.
He looks like a professor here.
Which was never his mustache.
Yeah.
Or an annoying client at a coffee shop.
I know.
Who's gotten his order wrong.
It looks like they're in their own show. It's like the pseudo BBC version of the Avengers or something like that, where it's
kind of
the Brigham Liz and Bessie, and they go around and solve adventures.
They just borrow these characters and props and don't even explain it. I got to say,
the show was just called Brig. Exclamation
Again,
mark.
Not related to Doctor Who in any way.
Out on my day.
Just outright theft. I have to say, Katie Manning's looking rather fetching in this picture of her with Stuart Bevan.
Oh, and they're massive. Both of them have great shoes, like these huge platforms.
It's as 70s as it gets.
Yeah, the Katie Manning's got on
the
there.
bell bottoms on Stuart Bevan. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, good old 1970s.
R.I.P. Stuart Bevan.
Yeah, absolutely. Died last year. So anyway, it's kind of cool to look back through time, and that links in the show notes. RadioFreeScaro.com. Last bit of news before we get to the Miniscope. There's a new book coming in February. What is it coming out in February for? It should be coming out on November 23rd, like everything else this year. It's actually probably going to launch the Gallifrey one because Sean Lyon is part of it. It's called The Companions of Doctor Who. Edited by David Bushman and Ken Deep, our good friend Ken Deep. All about, as you would suspect, Companions of Doctor Who with various essay writers like Ken Deep and Amanda Ray Prescott and Sean Lyon, of course. And so it's coming out from Tucker Press. You can pre-order it now. Expected to ship March 2024, but I bet you it's going to be out there at Gallifrey 1 next year, which is rapidly approaching, as we say every time when it comes to Gallifrey 1, but it'll jump up and surprise you, like it always does with us. So there you go. All right, kids, that is it for our news. Now it's time to talk about, again, Doctor Who director Saul Metzstein in the Miniscope.
Could be a theme park from the future, or we might be inside a Miniscope.
Oh, shut up.
A Miniscope, yes, of course, why not?
Welcome back to the second half of our two-part Miniscope on Doctor Who director Saul Metzstein. He directed 5 stories from Series 7. The first 2 we talked about last time, that being Dinosaurs on a Spaceship and A Town Called Mercy. This time around, it's the Snowmen, the Crimson Horror, and the name of the Doctor, spanning from the Christmas special all the way to the very end of Series 7 and leading into the Day of the Doctor. We'll get to the very hodgepodge production of the name of the Doctor later on, but the Snowmen will start off with the first story reviewed in the Verity era, because Verity started their podcast on January 1st, 2013, when they talked about this. It did feel a bit odd watching a Christmas episode in early July as we record this. Legitimately, it was snowy and stuff, but it didn't feel overly Christmassy. So I'm kind of happy that it was that way, because it's weird feeling about Christmas when it's July. But in a change of pace, all three of us watched this episode instead of divvying it up. So let's see. By the order of things, I think Warren went first last time because he talked about Town Called Mercy. So, Chris, what were your initial thoughts on the Snowmen, directorial wise?
I went first last time because we talked about dinosaurs on a spaceship.
That's true. Yes.
I suppose so. But Warren is like, tell you what. All right, then I take that.
Care.
No, we'll go Warren first.
You go first.
I like the Snowman. It's I can't remember. Didn't it we did our Christmas special death match around Christmas time? It did win, didn't it? Didn't it win, Snowman?
I believe it did, yeah.
Or
I think it did.
I don't remember.
It was Last Christmas. It was one of the two. Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was.
I thought it was Last Christmas that one, but
might have been Last Christmas. Remember. Maybe it was. There's a shocking defeat.
Damn close. If it didn't win.
I legitimately forgot about that until we just thought of that. It was like less than a year ago. No, I liked it. I like this episode a lot. I mean, it has a new companion, and it's Clara, who I adore. And it was, the BBC and Victoriana, they will never fail to not make it look gorgeous.
No.
There are locations in Wales that, for better or worse, still look like it's 1880. And that's why Doctor Who goes there. They don't shoot it in Cardiff. They go like to Swansea or Barry or somewhere else to shoot these scenes. And they look perfect. They look damned perfect. They could set a whole series of Doctor Who in Victorian London, and I would not complain about it because it's gorgeous to look at. And I think it's really, really well made and well shot, and it just looks gorgeous. Even the fake snow is pretty good. It's probably some of the best fake snow that we've seen in Doctor Who. And there's been, I recently watched Christmas Invasion, and there's some fake snow at the end of that, and saying, that's not real snow, guys. Come on. That's quite clearly styrofoam. But I think they're doing it a bit better now at this point, and so it's kind of nice to see that. I do have some notes, but we can get to it later. But yeah, the overall impression of this is that I really rather like it, and I think there's some neat directorial touches in this as well, which is the main focus of this discussion. So now I will throw it to Warren. Then, Warren, what is your first impressions of this?
Well, just to probably steal thunder that you noticed too, what I noticed in this one, and then there's other ones he's done this in too, there's a lot of Stanley Kubrick / Jonathan Demme straight on into the camera talking close-ups, which really work. And they really work in Jonathan Demme stuff too. So like in Silence of the Lambs, there's a whole thing where Clarice is talking to Lecter, and it's just straight on them looking right at the camera, which is fairly unusual, which is why it catches your attention. So that's why that whole back and forth with her and Madame Vastra, with Clara and Madame Vastra, really works. Also, I like how Clara turns the interrogation around, which might be down to the writing too, but it's also performance, and it's a nice touch in that whole thing. Yeah,
absolutely. I had that scene. I noted down two paragraphs, almost not 2 paragraphs, 2 lines, 2 or 3 sentences of that, about how the focus of it it begins wide and it goes in, and then it's boom. It's for 2 quick shots. It's Clara looking straight into the camera and Vassar looking, and then because Clara has said a word, all of a sudden they reset because the conversation has now reset. It's advanced.
Yeah, it's really clever.
Yeah, it's a really cleverly directed scene. I really like that one too. Yeah.
Also, TARDIS Discovery. We've seen a million of them. This is one of the better ones, as far as I'm concerned. I think they somehow make the old new again. I thought, and that's a bit of that is the dialogue, but most of it is the way they're directing with her running around the TARDIS and jumping back inside and stepping on the clouds and stuff. That's all great. As far as I'm concerned.
I mean, when even the Doctor says, "Oh, that's different," or "That's new," or whatever, when she says, "Oh, it's smaller on the outside."
Yeah.
Well, and the first shot is them walking from the outside of the TARDIS through the doors.
Yeah, which is great.
Into the brand, because it's brand new. It's the first time that we've seen this set now. The beautiful set designed by the late, great Michael Pickwoad. And it's like, have we seen that before? I'm trying to think if we've ever seen a full-on walk-in. I know they wanted to do that in David Tennant's reveal in the Christmas Invasion, but they didn't have the room to do it, and they didn't have the technology to do it either.
You certainly see a lot more of it after this.
Yeah.
So.
The closest thing that leaps to my mind, and I know for sure it was done in 2 separate shots, was Clara on the motorcycle in Day of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works anyway, but yeah, you're right.
But this is actually like you could just assume that that Matt Smith, Jenna Louise Coleman, as she was known at the time, are on a green screen and on the set, and then they're walking through the TARDIS doors, and that part is actually real. And it looked great. It looked absolutely fabulous, and it's one of the few times in history where we sort of sell that this is one direct pathway in between dimensions, so to speak. And it was a really well done shot, I thought. Yeah.
Random note: those cranky snowflakes have a real RTD vibe. I wrote down because they really do. This feels a lot like an RTD jam, and I thought at the time, this is probably going to see a lot more of this kind of thing in a few months' time.
Right.
Maybe not. He might not do that. Also, and this is completely just an offside thing, but when Matt Smith's doctor says, some bird looking at me would not make me do this, that, or the other thing. So I said, in my headcanon, the doctor has been stuck up in the TARDIS with lad mags and has too much time in his hands, and that's why he's talking like that, because it seemed really out of character. I'm like, what? Why would the doctor say that?
Some bird.
Even Matt Smith's doctor.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a little, I'm not offended, but shocked, not even shocked, but surprised. Let's put it that way.
Taken aback a little bit.
Yeah, taken aback. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Warren? Or you want me to throw to Chris here to see?
That's kind of the sum total of my Snowman. Although Richard E. Grant is great. It's Richard E. Grant. He's incapable of not being great, but he's great in this. So
one might even say he is
iconic.
There we are.
One could say that, yes.
One could say that. Chris, your initial thoughts on the Snowman, directing mostly is what I'm talking about here.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, I also made notes about the one-word test scene between Clara and Vastra, because that's definitely a standout. I hate sounding repetitive, even though I'm going to do it. Like, there's some fun stuff in the Snowman from a directorial standpoint, but there's a lot of just, okay, that works, and you don't even think about it, and you just sit there and watch, and that's fine.
I know what you mean. Yep.
I mean, there's one of the things that Metzstein has to deal with a lot when it comes to this and dinosaurs is a lot of CG and post work and stuff. There's things that don't exist in the moment when you're shooting, and sometimes some directors handle that better than others, and he did quite fine on that front.
Yeah,
but yeah, the snowmen, the snowflakes, I'm sure everything that happened inside the globe at Great Intelligence, I'm sure none of that was actually in camera.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Although maybe actually the snow in there, it does feel kind of like a bit of like a styrofoam snow globe in.
Maybe with a bit of a leaf blower or something. Maybe,
yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah. And at the end of the day, like Warren said, Richard E. Grant. Like one of the notes I'd made was toward the end, before the Simian gets taken over by the Intelligence. Just when Richard E. Grant is just like cowering and looking pitiful.
Yeah,
as the doctor is explaining the Great Intelligence to him, and he just sells it so well.
Yeah. Good actor is Richard E. Grant. It's amusing to think that he didn't really know what Doctor Who was when he appeared as the Doctor. Yeah, well, as the Doctor in I remember watching the behind the scenes stuff in Curse of Fatal Death, and that's the first time he'd ever seen a Dalek before, and he's just going, they're unique.
I hope he had the same reaction to all the Marvel lore for Loki, which he's also great in, by the way.
And he's in Star Wars, for crying out loud. He's in Rise of Skywalker as well. I mean, he's
like everything in Rise of Skywalker. He gets short shrift, and that's not his fault.
Possibly. I did note count 4 and 5 of dramatic push into Matt Smith as he turns around slowly. It happens again twice in like 10 seconds. First off is when he's walking by after Clara has just discovered a snowman, and he stops and does that. And then he walks away again, and they use a similar shot. I'm not sure I would have used that same shot twice in such short succession, but hey, what are you going to do? You know what? Metzstein is great at gathering footage, and maybe it's the editorial decision to think, oh, that one's good, and that one's good too. Let's use both of them. So I'm not, you can't necessarily blame the director on it. I don't know how much. I mean, directors, as we've talked about a lot on this show, they do have a lot of say in the final edit. But sometimes these things get perhaps overridden in the edit suite by the editor or producer. I don't know. What I liked, and it was economical, and what probably was cheaper to do it this way. But in this, like the couple of scenes where the snowmen appear, they don't just like appear out of shot. They appear just in shot, out of focus. And it's probably it's cheaper that way, but it's great because it's kind of effective because you just sort of see this like sort of out of focus voomp come up from out. From just in each, the side of the shot or something like that. And if you were to focus on it, I think it would look kind of comical to see these snowmen just suddenly appear. But the fact that it sort of just appears just out of vision and out of focus, I thought was really effective, but also really cheaply done, which is the best of both worlds, really.
Yes.
Like not showing the shark too much is why the shark is so good in Jaws, because if they had the money, we would have seen so many reveal shots that probably Spielberg would have wanted back in 1975, and they would have looked awful. So
now, to defend Spielberg, he does the same thing as with the shark, more or less, in Jurassic Park, where you don't see that dinosaur till you need to, and you only see the CG where absolutely necessary. That's true.
A lesser director would show it off all the time.
Yes, like say whoever made Van Helsing.
Take your word for that.
It's terrible.
Having never seen that, but
don't bother. It's CG garbage.
Yeah. There's a great reveal of Clara, who she's the hero shot sort of thing, where we see basically we discover that she is a barmaid because we see the glasses that she's cleaning up, and then the camera sort of swoops in and tilts, rises up, and then we see her sort of look around. She stops for a second. Very good reveal. Camera work plays an important part in introducing viewers to characters they need to care about, and I thought they did a great job with who would be the new companion at the end of all that. Well, more or less would be the new companion at the end of all this. So I thought that was a really nice shot. I have other notes, but Chris, do you have any notes that you noted down? I don't know. Warren sort of gave some of his jotted down opinions.
Not. I have only one thing left that hasn't already been brought up, and that was as the Doctor and Clara are walking around the TARDIS. There's an awesome overhead shot of that.
When the Doctor's sort of running out and looking who's there, and Clara's sort of running around, yeah. Is that the shot you mean, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good one. I had that one in my notes too. Good stuff. Is that it then? That's it? That's the only...
I mean, that's it. That's it for specific notes for Metzstein, yeah. Mm. From a story standpoint, I hadn't seen it in quite a while, and I found myself just sitting there watching it more than I thought I might.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Well, you know what? This is the sign of a good story. If you're involved in watching it and you're not really noticing the direction that much, it's probably good direction when you think about it.
Definitely to a point. When I watch things, I watch them in reverse order. So I started with Crimson Horror, and got a little tedious with Strax and his one noteness of
I love Strax.
let's
okay.
incinerate them with like brain acid grenades or whatever,
right.
Are you saying in Snowman it got tedious or in Crimson Horror it got tedious?
Or both.
And in Name of the Doctor, honestly, he does a lot of that, but it's still funny, so I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm a Strax.
Not saying it's not amusing, but just might have been more of a crutch. And also, Crimson Horror, nothing to do with Metzstein, so I'll get it out of the way now. Man, that Tom joke still annoys the hell out of me.
I've got it written here in brackets because it doesn't have anything to do with Metzstein. The Tom joke is all caps. Dumb. Oh,
It is dumb.
I forgot about that until it came up.
Completely a Moffat joint. You just forced it in there.
No, it's a Mark Gatiss joint. I think that was.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay,
yeah,
right,
it's a Mark Gatiss episode. Yeah. It. I did not like that joke at all. Oh God. Anyway, I like the Snowman though.
Have we talked about Ian McKellen?
No, we haven't, but he's in it.
He's in it.
It's good. It's good voice work. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, Ian McKellen. I wonder who got a hold of him, because it was Metzstein who actually got Ben Browder into a Town Called Mercy, which worked out very well. It was Mark Gatiss that actually got Diana Rigg and Rachel Sterling into the Crimson Ore.
Who are great.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are great there too. So I don't.
I gotta think it was Sylvester McCoy. Years ahead of actually being a Hobbit.
Yeah, suggesting that too.
Also, McKellen was on a tear being on sitcoms and doing Coronation Street, and just because he felt like doing some stuff. So maybe that was part of this. I don't know.
Yeah. Listen, all he had to do was show up in a booth and just read lines. He didn't even have to lip sync with anybody.
When was that, relative to this, when was that sitcom he did with Derek Jacobi?
Oh, Vicious.
It was a little before, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it was before. It was before this. I can't remember. But, I remember.
Listen,
Ian
McKellen is so good.
Mm-hmm.
For the 100th episode of Cats, which is probably, not of Cats, of Is It Camp? Friend of the show, Sarah Murphy, and her friend Sam's podcast about camp shows. They're doing Cats, which I think has probably happened by the time this goes out. And I watched it, and it's terrible. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But Ian McKellen, even in that pile of hot garbage, is awesome. Everything around him is terrible, but he's awesome. So.
Oh yeah,
Vicious,
I watched.
Vicious, the first episode debuted in late April 2013.
Oh, so after this.
So close. So maybe it is what I was
after
thinking there.
this. So,
yeah. Interesting. He was. I know neither of you watched. I don't think you watched it. Extras though. The Ricky Gervais. I
did.
Oh yeah.
It's the only thing Ricky Gervais ever liked.
Oh my God. Ian McKellen is just...
I like the what was it called? Extra Life? No, the Netflix thing he did.
Yeah, it's a Netflix thing. No, this is the one where
I just find his laugh annoying as hell. He's like a little toned down in Extras, which is why I like it.
I know, but the episode that Ian McKellen's in is just like he's playing himself as a theater director. It's just how do you become? I pretend to be a wizard, and then I stop. And that's exactly like.
Well, and then Patrick Stewart's in it, and always obsessed with women's underwear for some reason.
And I fall out. I've seen it all. Anyway. Metzstein directed either of those, so we'll move on. Snowman is great though. I really like Snow. I like that. I like the screwball comedy energy on the rooftop scene where all this weird, not to sound like a prude, but all this weird kissing aside, I don't know why suddenly Clara is just immediately infatuated with the Doctor, and like they kisses him for a long time, and then they fall on each other, and it's all like screwball comedy. But I thought the energy of that scene was really well done, with them tossing the umbrella back and forth to each other. I wonder how much of that was written or came about in rehearsal or in just the action of them chucking back the umbrella like it's the conch or something in Lord of the Flies or something. But I like that scene. Anyway, Chris, you were saying
as we move to the Crimson Horror, where people. I have a distinct memory of people complaining about the Doctor kissing Jenny.
Yeah.
Was there any similar upset when Clara just, planted lips on the Doctor in Snowman?
No.
I don't remember it.
No, I don't think there was. No. Which means men are greatly mistreated in media today,
absolutely.
And have been for the past 100 years.
Well, I think the thing is, planting your lips on Jenny, besides not being a lack of consent, that's also a woman married to another woman who is a lizard. So maybe that's at least a threefer, if not a fourfer.
That's true.
And multiple fronts of screwing up there, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, Soma is great. A superb Christmas episode, and in the middle of a season, more or less, too, which is kind of a novelty thing at the time. But we move on to the Crimson Order, which I think was intended to be fourth, and eventually went out as like sixth in that whole weird series. It was originally supposed to be written by Stephen Moffat, but he ran behind time trying to write the Snowmen, and then, of course, later the Day of the Doctor. So Mark Gatiss came on, wrote this one. Seems like very much a Mark Gatiss joint to begin with, let's face it.
Yeah, very much so.
But
which isn't entirely bad.
No, know. I think it might be my favorite Mark Gatiss episode. I might have to say,
What
even
about
though
Sleep No More. Come on, Sleep No More. Which has its moments. Come on.
I suppose it has its moments.
It's No Unquiet Dead.
No.
Well,
But
fair enough.
there's another Dateline on the side of the wall, which is the last time we see the Metzstein Dateline, so to speak. Who watched this one? I can't remember which one he is.
That was Chris.
That was I.
All right. You've already expressed some misgivings towards this. What's your general thoughts on this one?
Yeah. This is definitely not a favorite. It's kind of down there with other things like Robot of Sherwood and
Wow.
And what the hell's Night Terrors? Night Terrors.
Night Terrors. You're talking about Gatiss joints here, aren't you?
Gatiss joints, yeah.
No.
You'd spoken earlier about involvement of the director when it comes to the editing process and how for British TV they can or do have a say in it, are probably part of the process, things like that. I wonder how much involvement he had with Crimson Horror, because the editing on this thing is just all over the place. Like things just jump so much, and it's just so disjointed and so jarring that just from a storytelling standpoint, I don't like it. But but when it comes to Metzstein stuff, I had said before about him keeping the camera in fairly steady, if slow motion, for a lot of things. There's several instances of it in here, but the first one that caught my attention was when Mrs. Gillyflower was giving her apocalypse address to the crowd, and the camera just slowly just shifting and moving in here and there.
Yep.
Never static, and it gives a little extra energy to the scene, especially something like that where it's one person speaking to a room full of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to make static scenes like that, have energy or movement without, just ever so subtly moving the camera. You could do it a lot worse. You could just have complete cuts and swooping shots like you're in an Aha video from 1985. But
your go-to reference, yes.
It's from I don't know why I thought of the video for The Sun Always Shines on TV. Not Take on Me. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know what you mean. I was just thinking now when you're talking about cuts all over the place, and I'm just thinking about directing and editing to match the style of the show or the actors that are in the scene or show in question. And I was just thinking about how this might just be me misremembering things, but I feel like the editing in Peter Capaldi's time is a little less frenetic because he is a less frenetic actor. He's also an older actor. Yeah. And then, it matches his style. I can't imagine Capaldi sort of, being in a scene where there's a whole bunch of cuts and everything like that, because he's the focus of the scene, and he is standing still and he's moving as much as he wants to or as little as he wants to. And then I'm just thinking of season 2 of Picard and season 1, where they keep trying to inject some energy and life into like a chase scene or something like this. And like Patrick Stewar's 80 years old. Like you don't do a whole bunch of cuts around this poor old guy trying to make him look like he's going faster than he actually is. They get it right in season 3. The direction matches the cast, the age and energy level of the cast, and it doesn't try to impose a pace on them that they can't match. And sometimes I think Matt Smith episodes, with the way that Matt Smith is, his kind of doctor, I think it kind of invites that frenetic, madcap direction and cutting.
Tenet too, honestly.
A little bit, yeah.
In Matt Smith's case, though, there was the extra layer of I don't know how many times it was overall, but they, whoever's writing the story would write the script, and then just the speed and the way that Matt Smith would rip through the dialogue, it would leave the episode running short.
That's true. They'd have to write extra scenes. Yeah. That was a problem, was it? Whereas Capaldi probably says, "Oh, we got to cut down the scene." Capaldi said his speech,
and he just slowed it right down, and
yeah, dramatic pause, and he knew how to do a dramatic pause to Peter Capaldi. Yeah, I like this one more than you do, Chris. But
that's not difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I think I do probably the same thing. I probably like it more than you do.
When we were watching stuff the other day, even Kat was saying how much she enjoyed it, but
yeah, she likes
the era.
That's true.
Just to knock out a couple of points I had written down here. I did like when they had the flashbacks, everything was in sepia, which...
Yeah, I love that.
I love it.
The frame rate? I thought it was great.
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite bit.
All the noise and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there's just good use of lighting in general. Like there's a lot with the red, because there's lots of red, obviously. But in the doctor's cell where Ada was keeping him, like the light was like just cold blue, and it's created a nice contrast.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good point there.
And then last thing I had written down was multiple times where Ada is the focal point, the camera treats her as such. The camera is level with her and looks up or down as needed for others, such as the scene where her mother says that Ada won't be going to Sweetville. Or the scene where the doctor reconnects with Ada, where she's sitting in the chair in the hallway. And I said the same thing about Solomon in Dinosaurs on the Spaceship. So I guess that maybe is a Metzstein thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good spot. I never noticed that. That's good. That's a good one. One that I noticed that I didn't quite think much of is that both in this and in the Snowmen is that the first one of the first things we see of Jenny is we see a between the leg shot, so to speak, where she's like straddling the camera, and we see a shot between her leg because she's just stripped down to her fighting attire in this. And she also kind of does it in the Snowmen when it's her and Vast are facing off against Simeon in the street there early on in the Snowman. And it kind of reminds me of the poster for Your Eyes Only from 1981, James Bond, where it's it's that kind of shot, and it's like... feels a little sexist, but I'm not too sure what the point of that shot was. Other than to think that and it's sort of hammered home by Matt Smith's doctor sort of looking at it and having his sonic screwdriver go erect. That couple shots didn't quite sit for me. Yeah, bit Ray Cooney farce from the 1970s. Anyway, so there was that. But, there was another Matt Smith dramatic turnaround. I want to point that out I had in my head. That makes 6 for all these episodes. I like that Mr. Sweet is...
Was that Blue Steel or was it Magnum?
I don't know. I don't know what you call that. Yeah, the Kirk. I think you call it the Metzstein. I think the Matt Smith Metzstein. I like that Mr. Sweet was another real effect and not a CG thing, because it was kind of cold. It was kind of sad and pathetic, and that's what made it endearing, to be quite honest. The fact that it was this little sock puppet, which kind of was like tromping around. It was basically like a bandrel without a puppet master. And
listen, the dinosaurs slumped so that Mr. Sweet could fly.
True. But yeah, there were aspects of this which I think were a little bit silly, but at the end of the story was kind of silly too. So it never really got settled down into a dark sort of Victoriana sort of thing, as we kind of get, I suppose, from some of the Snowmen and certainly from Name of the Doctor.
I did appreciate the running joke of how they were in the North, and so everything's all weird as a result.
Yeah, because that's always fun to make fun of the North. We're from the North too, people from the North. So come on,
we're more north than most, honestly.
Yeah, we are. We're I think even more north than Edinburgh. So what do you think about that, Yorkshire? Didn't know when you've been born. Anyway, anything else on the Crimson Horror? Warren, you have any final comments?
Just that Diana Rigg and the name of her daughter
Rachel
and
Sterling?
daughter in the show escapes me. Yeah, are great together. I think they do a really good job of back and forth.
Yeah, they had never acted together before, and Mark Gatiss learned of this when he went out for dinner with them, because he was in a play with Rachel Sterling, and he suggested, hey, what if I wrote parts for both of you, especially in a Doctor Who episode, and then you could be in something together for the first time.
And it's incapable of Diana Rigg to do wrong. Like, she's just so good at anything she does. So
that's true. They would later appear on screen together in The Detectorists, playing mother and daughter.
Oh, yeah.
As well, yeah. So with Mackenzie Crook and Doctor Who's and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's Toby Jones.
Oh, good.
And now you know the rest of the story. Anything else then, Crimson Horror, before we move on to the finale of this, the name of the Doctor?
Not for me.
No? Because Warren's chomping at the bit to talk about the name of the Doctor. You like all of the Doctors, Warren. This is
I do.
That's your wheelhouse.
Every single one of them.
Yeah. What do you think about name of the Doctor?
Well, going into this, I have to say I'm completely biased. I do unabashedly love this one. But having said that, my first note that I wrote down was, this is basically Ant-Man Quantumania, but capital letters, great. Because it kind of is. Like, it exists to set up a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to happen, except it does a way better job than Ant-Man, which I actually didn't mind Ant-Man Quantumania. But that's kind of what it's for, to set up everything else that's going to happen, right?
Right.
Having said that, it does a phenomenal job of doing it. I'll start with, again, this is totally biased because I'm old, but the in 2013, when we had What Kind of Idiot Steals a TARDIS, and then we go to a bunch of archive footage which Clara composited in. My Lord. I mean, I was just sitting there agape, and I'm, to this day, every time I watch it, I'm like, yes, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I love it so much. And I know it's not perfect, but it's 40-year-old videotape crap. What do you expect? Like, come on. It looks good for what it is, and it's used remarkably well. I also said, and I mentioned this before whenever we talked about this episode, it is all over the place tonally, and somehow they pull it all off. I don't know how they do it, because it's funny, it's sad, it's harrowing, it's scary as hell when hearts are being pulled out, people are dying all over the place. Like, I said in my notes, Moffat is great at not subtle melancholy, but nowhere near as overt as Chibnall and RTD's melancholy. Like, especially with Smith. Smith goes from goofing around the kids to like utter and complete grief and dread, and he just absolutely nails it as far as I'm concerned. Let's see what else here. We got one of the other things I noticed for the first time, having seen this a bunch of times, is that they are doing a lot with a little. There isn't a whole lot to this show. Like,
no,
there's this set somewhere, right, with a bunch of gravestones, and there's the house that they've already filmed in a bunch of times before, and other than some set extensions, that's kind of it. Like, really, like, but somehow they pull it off. Like, it just works. Let's see what else here. Richard Grant is great again. I absolutely love the scene with him and River where he's talking to her and nobody else can see him. Like, this is absolutely perfect as far as I'm concerned. Still chokes me up to this day. Also, in terms of shooting, there are some great group shot compositions. There's a lot of people to cover here, and the geography is pretty solid, which a lot of people don't bother doing anymore. And this, you can tell where everybody is, what's happening. There's great shots where you have each set of crews, like all the Whisper Men on one side, and then all our heroes on the other. And it's just nice with like Smith here and then Vaster at the end. And it's just really well shot. So stuff like that. Just great fisheye close-ups. The seance, which is always kind of my weakest part of the whole thing, but I was watching for camera work, and the camera work is great in that. It all really works. And the whole thing where Jenny's like, I think I may have been murdered, and they're all just kind of essentially gaslighting her about it, even though she's right. Like, it's really well done, and she really pulls off freaking out within that seance. So yeah, that's pretty much my verbal diarrhea on it.
Yeah, no, that covers off a bunch of notes that I had on this too. Because there's some really good stuff in this. Chris, what's your memory of this one?
Oh, honestly, precious little. It's been so long. That's not a knock on the story. I do dig the story. I mean, the whole John Hurt surprise was still, still resonates.
I didn't believe it at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the Whisper Men. They were great. But yeah, like, story-wise, the seance is the main thing I remember, and then Richard E. Grant doing very, very well. Yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
I interviewed Alex Kingston on stage. When was it? It was just before Husbands of River Song went out. Chris Chicago TARDIS, this was 2015, 16, I guess, 15. And she full on said she hated making this episode. So
Well, too bad.
I don't know what I think just the nature of it is the fact that she was basically the whole episode she was sitting at a table and then had a scene with Matt Smith just standing up. It's like she had very little to do, but was sort of all over the episode. You know, it's one of those things where she's just, you know, is not involved in it. And so I don't think she enjoyed it. I was impressed and surprised by her frankness during that interview. So there was that. But I love the trippy shots during the conference call. You know, it all feels like we're at a Grateful Dead concert or something, and we've had been in that room just a little too long. Everything's kind of wavy, and the colors are sort of trippy and moving around a little bit and stuff. I thought that was kind of cool. I was interested, you know, I noted down those same shots, both when they're sort of standing like almost like football teams, you know, like almost in a perfect like triangle, like, you know, a pyramid in a way. Like there's the Doctor in front and then two behind him, and then, you know, and you could sort of see all of them. And then there's those other shots where they're in the grave, I guess, or the tomb, where the sparkling energy in the middle. And then on the one side of the shot is like Dr. Vastra, Jenny Clara, and Strax, and then Simeon the Whisperman on the opposite side of that. That was pretty cool. And
the music, I forgot to mention, which is not really Saul Metzstein's thing, but the music is great, especially where he walks into his own time stream. It's just, it's perfect. It's so good.
It is good stuff. And the music with in the river and Doctor shot scene at the end there, where you get the impression, I mean, that is the last time, isn't it, until Husband's River Song that we see River Song.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And that's not even the last time for her, or is it? No, it is. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, she's dead already at that point.
Right. Yeah. The stuff in Husbands has happened before Silence of the Library. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just before it.
It's hard to keep track of this.
It is. Somebody, I'm sure Who Graphica has a full timeline in the book about what River Song's timeline's all about for you to read later on. No, it was a good episode, but I did notice that push into Matt Smith turning around dramatically, 7 and 8, but the last time is actually for one John Hurt as the Doctor, where I think it's pretty much
phenomenal.
Yeah, it's funny reading the whole. So basically, it's hilarious looking at the timeline of these things. So I was like reading the sort of the wiki page about this, and it was mid-February, February 15th, that, or mid-February, it says here, Chris Eccleston informed Moffat that he had decided against reprising his role as the Ninth Doctor. Originally, of course, Day of the Doctor was going to be the Ninth Doctor, having to be the one who started the Time War. And so, little did I know that pretty much the exact day that I was talking to Saul Metzstein, who said that he couldn't say much about the last episode, which he did not reveal the name of at the time, but they had just locked the edit of that episode. Well, guess what, Saul Metzstein? He returns home to probably say, listen, we have to completely reshoot the end of this episode. And they only reshot that bit, basically, once they had Eccleston was out, they had to think, what if we make a new Doctor and they get John Hurt in? And that happens by late March. And by early April, they're shooting the ending of The Name of the Doctor alongside production of Day of the Doctor. So just a completely chaotic production of that episode.
So back to this, in a way, a tribute, because it's back to the 60s, right by the skin of your teeth.
It is. Like, I don't know when that thing go out. It went out May 18th, and they basically, we're shooting that scene like a month prior to broadcast, which is, it's not a lot, but it's kind of tight for a modern television production. So, yeah. So well done, Saul Metzstein, in putting together an episode which, when they shot it, didn't have the ending that it came out with at the end, which is quite something indeed. Yeah. But a good episode. I had forgotten like you, Chris. I had sort of forgotten large chunks of how they got to Trenza lore until I watched this episode, and I forgot all about the seance, oddly enough, until it started happening. But
when I watched the Snowman, I didn't follow through with it, but I had a really strong urge to watch the Bells of St. John, and I definitely had an urge to watch The Name of the Doctor as well. Just to watch it, not just because the Metzstein, but
yeah.
I would have made notes had I watched it.
Right.
But it didn't.
That's okay. We talked about it here. A good episode to lead into the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, which is what he did. Even though he didn't have any part of it, he directed 5 of the 14 episodes that went out in the series before it, and never again.
Never again. No. He's directed a great show called Brassic, which I highly recommend for those who like odd sitcoms.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I was reminded of, nothing to do with Metzstein, but one thing I was reminded of back in, or partly to do with Metzstein, all the stupid so-called prequels.
Yep.
That
there's so many
littered the era, and I'd forgotten about. I'd not thought to watch Pond Life, which I guess I could have, but just all the other stuff. Like there are 3 quote prequels for the Snowman alone, and one or 2 for Mercy, and
they used to do those a lot more.
There's a lot of that stuff.
There is a lot.
Capaldi did a bit of that too, didn't he? I brought not him personally, but
there's a longer one that was right before Series 9, where he's
the one with him and the Viking guy. From,
in the castle. Which explains why he has a tank at the beginning of that. Yeah, there's that one. They showed that one in the theater after the 3D airing of Dark Water, Death in Heaven. That's where I first saw that. Yep. It came out on Blu-ray later on. But yeah, they used to do a lot of those. Yeah, Metzstein did 2 or 3 of them around this time too, you know. Richard Sr. did those too, as I recall. Did some of those.
Sr. did some, yep.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're going to get any theater stuff now that RTD's waving his hands around a lot.
Oh, who can tell? That might
have nothing to do with. Yeah, it could be like Phantom Events or whoever decides one way or the other. Who knows?
Let's see if there's still a Disney Plus by the time Doctor Who's.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be fine. Anyway, any last thoughts on Saul Metzstein, workman-like director of Doctor Who from 2012 to 2013?
Is there a dud in the bunch? No, not really. So
Nope. Brought stuff safely into port. You can't disclaim a director for doing that. It's weird,
especially in TV.
Especially in TV. He directed the odd, a few things about once every year until the pandemic, and oddly enough, I guess he didn't do any directing for 3 years, and only now has 6 episodes of series 3 of Slow Horses on Apple TV Plus coming out. So
which I've yet to watch.
No, well, season 3 hasn't come. I've lost track of how many seasons there are of it, but Saul Metzstein directed 6 episodes.
I lost track of Apple TV, to be honest with you.
I know they're doing like casting and stuff for the 4th. 3 has yet to come out, but 1 and 2 have come out.
Yeah. Well, it's good that Saul Metzstein's back directing again. I mean, usually we ask like, hey, would we want to have him back? But you know what? 5 episodes in a year is a lot, and I don't wish. And listening to interviews that I did with him, and I listened to another one, and I read some print one about there's no real easy days on Doctor Who with location work and everything else and stuff. Like I imagine like that much Doctor Who in a calendar year, like. That's enough. Like I remember Ed Bazalgette on a live show one year, who directed the first 2 episodes of some season or other. I've forgotten already. And I asked him, because you usually do when wrapping things up. Do you think you want to work on Doctor Who? He said, no, he's done. He's done. That's enough for him. So yeah, Doctor Who's a tough bird to catch when it comes to directing Doctor Who. So. But anyway, we thank you, Saul Metzstein, for your work on the show. And as Warren said, there ain't a duff one among them, so that's pretty good. So, all right, well, hey, this is the fun time, kids. We get to select the next Miniscope subject that Chris will select from the randomizer. You got that sucker open right now, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, begin the spinning of it now.
We're down to 12 names in here, 3 writers and 9 directors.
Really? 3 writers, 9? Wow, that is...
And, well, I say 3. It's 5, but 2 of them are grouped into 2s.
Oh, like there's weirdly, Barry Letts and Robert Sloman are still in there. Mm-hmm. I think Hazeman and Lincoln, are they still in there too?
Yeah. Terry Nation's the other...
Terry Nation! Writer. How could we have not done Terry Nation yet? My word. And I think Michael Ferguson is in there for directors. And I can't remember who else, but Jamie Magnus Stone, I think, is in there probably too. And yeah. Well...
And some others.
Some others. Well, I mean, I'm amazed that I remembered that. I'm not even looking at it, so I have no idea what's going to happen. Hey, that's long enough banter. Let's, how about you stop?
Michael Ferguson.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, my goodness me. Oh, I'm so happy. Michael, for the late, great Michael Ferguson.
Only just died in 2021.
Yeah, he did. So sad. I mean, he directed 4 Doctor Who stories, being The War Machine, Seeds of Death, and Bastards of Death,
and The Claws of Axos.
Axos. Also directed many episodes of The Sandbaggers. Oh,
nice. He also directed Quiller.
He directed Quiller, and I haven't watched it yet, but I certainly will now that we're doing Michael Ferguson in the Miniscope. I am so looking forward to this. I can't begin to tell you. I hope you all are too. He was overlooked for me. I always went all Graham Harper, and then I discovered Douglas Camfield, and then I discovered Michael Ferguson. So I'm so looking forward to praising his wonderful efforts in Doctor Who.
Apparently, he was poached by Peter Cregeen to be exec producer of EastEnders in 1989.
Well, they both worked together on The Sandbaggers. So, and Peter Cregeen canceled Doctor Who. So Michael Ferguson is an accessory to a crime.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll dive into that as well on the next Miniscope here on Radio Free Skaro. Until next time, folks, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Or in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com. Follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro. Subscribe to us on iTunes and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.